What if the most advanced data storage device on Earth isn't actually sitting in some heavily cooled server farm in Silicon Valley?
Right, like we usually assume it has to be this massive engineered thing.
Exactly. We assume it's entirely untouched by modern engineering because, I mean, we usually think of information storage as this highly manufactured, sleek process, right? It involves glass and metal and silicon chips.
Yeah, you break the seal on a brand new box, you pull out this engineered device, and it usually comes with a dense user manual.
Right. But today, for this deep dive, we are exploring a framework that completely flips that assumption on its head. We're looking into the concept of the Lightbrary Quartz. And if you were, trying to navigate the complex world of energy crystals for the first time, understanding this specific stone is, well, it's like learning a brand new operating system.
It really is, because in this metaphysical framework, nature didn't just provide the raw materials for a hard drive. Nature actually grew the hard drive itself.
Which is wild to think about. And our mission today is to break these concepts down simply, especially if you're a beginner to all of this, because the name itself, Lightbrary, is literally a portmanteau of light and library.
Yeah, exactly. Light and library. So we are dealing with an object that's framed not just as a decorative piece of geology to put on your shelf. It's considered a dense, ancient storage unit containing just an immense volume of wisdom.
But totally reframing the crystal.
Definitely. The terminology is very deliberate. Calling it a library shifts the entire perspective. I mean, a library is a place you go to access records of the past, right? To research, to download information into your own mind.
Yeah.
So in crystal lore, these stones are fundamentally treated as interactive technologies.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can really understand the actual data that's supposedly stored inside these libraries, we have to look at the physical shape of the hardware itself.
Right. The physicality is key.
Yeah, there's a very specific physical detail from the text that sets the Lightbrary Quartz apart from your standard, smooth crystal point. It possesses a stepped, layered growth pattern.
Which is so striking when you see one. When you hold one of these, it feels almost architectural.
Architectural, right.
Yeah, instead of a single uniform surface, it features these distinct ridges. You see overlapping stair-step formations scaling up the sides of the main body. It almost resembles like a miniature skyscraper or an ancient ziggurat.
Oh, I like that visual. And that layered physicality instantly brings to mind the platters of a mechanical hard drive. Or, to use a more biological analogy, maybe the rings of an ancient tree.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Because we intuitively understand that in the natural world, layers represent time. Like with the sequoia tree, right?
Yeah.
Every single physical ring represents a different era.
A different season of stored environmental data.
Exactly. Rainfall, drought, temperature shifts. The physical structure is a visual ledger of all the eras the organism has actually endured.
And what's fascinating here is how that physical biology directly informs the metaphysical reputation. Because of this unique, layered, step-like structure, these specific quartz formations are referred to in the lore as the Ancient Ones.
The Ancient Ones.
Or sometimes Atlantean Temples. The framework suggests that these stones have physically and energetically passed through all the great ancient civilizations.
Wow.
So the stepped growth is literally the mechanism that designates them as ancient vessels. The form meets the function perfectly.
It does. But I have to say, I struggle a bit with the terminology around acquiring these stones based on the text.
Oh, the ownership aspect.
Yeah. The established language strongly insists that you don't buy or own a Lightbrary Quartz. This source specifically says you choose to become its current guardian or keeper.
Right.
Why that specific phrasing instead of just saying you bought or own it? I mean, if I go to a crystal shop and pay money for it, mechanically speaking, I own it, right?
Yeah. I mean, in a capitalist sense, sure. But think about the implication of the word ownership. Ownership implies dominance and, well, permanence. If you buy a phone, you own it, you use it up, and you eventually throw it away.
Yeah, that's true.
But if we accept the premise that this object is an ancient one, a literal library that has supposedly logged the rise and fall of civilizations over millennia, claiming ownership over it, is almost, I don't know, arrogant.
Huh. It's a deeply anti-consumerist approach, isn't it?
Completely. It completely alters the psychological dynamic for a beginner. Using the term guardian or keeper enforces a temporary, highly respectful relationship with an object that vastly outlives you.
So you're just sort of borrowing it.
Exactly. You are checking out a book, or rather, you're acting as the librarian for a brief window of time. You approach the stone not with a transactional mindset like asking, what can this rock do for me today?
Right.
But instead you approach it with a sense of reverence and stewardship. Your role is to safeguard the library for the present moment before it eventually passes to someone else.
That makes a lot of sense. It requires a level of humility before you even begin trying to access the information.
Definitely.
So, okay, let's move into the actual data. We have this layered physical storage device. We're guarding it. What exactly is written on the hard drive? Because the core concept tied to the Lightbrary Quartz is that it provides access to the Akashic Records.
Yes. The Akashic Records, which represent one of the most profound concepts in esoteric philosophy.
And how would you define that for someone totally new to this?
They are defined as a comprehensive document of all that has occurred on Earth, every event, every action, every thought that has ever happened.
Which is an overwhelmingly massive concept.
It's just huge.
We are essentially talking about a cosmic, unhackable cloud server. It is the ultimate Wikipedia of the universe, and it's been constantly logging the entire history of Earth since the planet's formation.
That's a really good analogy.
But I have a serious mechanical hang-up here.
Okay, let's hear it.
The lore states that these records are written in the language of light, right? And the source describes the crystal itself as an extremely powerful light worker's device.
Right.
So if this history is written in a literal language of light, how does a human being actually read or download that? I mean, flesh and blood don't have USB ports. We don't have a plug in our heads. How is a physical human body supposed to interact with a frequency we can't even see?
That is the friction point where metaphysics requires a shift in how we understand our own biology. The framework doesn't treat the human brain as a digital computer needing a literal cable.
Okay, then how does it treat it?
It treats consciousness as a receiver. The mechanical explanation offered by the lore is all about vibration. These crystals transmit a very, very high vibration.
But what does high vibration actually mean in a practical sense? Because we hear that buzzword a lot.
True. Consider the radio dial analogy. As humans going about our daily lives, we are naturally tuned to a very specific terrestrial frequency.
Like our default setting.
Yeah. We perceive the mundane world. The sound of traffic outside, the physical sensation of a keyboard under our fingers, the stress of a looming deadline. We are tuned to the AM radio station of basic survival and daily existence.
Right, we only pick up the signals necessary to get through the day.
Exactly. But the language of light, this vast cosmic documentation of the Akashic Records, is broadcasting on a subtle, high-frequency FM station.
Oh, I see.
We can't naturally perceive it because our internal dial isn't tuned to that frequency. The Lightbrary Quartz acts as a tuner. By engaging with the crystal, the belief is that you are utilizing its naturally high resonance to pull your own vibrational frequency upward.
So the crystal bridges the gap.
Yes. It acts as a translator that raises your frequency, allowing your consciousness to temporarily tune into that FM station and actually perceive the stored wisdom.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
If this crystal acts as a tuner to access the cosmic cloud server, what kind of files are we actually downloading into our own minds?
That is the big question.
Because the lore leans heavily into the idea that these crystals are tied to ancient places like Lemuria and Atlantis. It suggests that working with a Lightbrary Quartz might trigger intense feelings or, memories of having worked with the exact same crystal in previous lifetimes.
Which introduces this fascinating element of ancient memory. The mechanism isn't just about reading a history book in a library. It's about a profound personal recognition.
Like remembering something you forgot.
Exactly. The framework relies on the concept that civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria weren't just ancient cities, but pinnacles of advanced spiritual and crystalline technology. The knowledge from those eras didn't just vanish when they fell, it was encoded.
Which perfectly sets up my absolute favorite way to visualize this entire process. To me, the Lightbrary Quartz operates exactly like a software decryption key.
Oh, a decryption key.
Yeah, because the lore states that the crystal opens the mind and unlocks a massive amount of unconscious, trapped knowledge. And that phrase, trapped knowledge, it changes everything.
How so? Walk through the mechanics of that decryption key analogy for me.
Well, if the knowledge is trapped, it means the crystal isn't actually handing you a brand new file from an external source. It implies the THNIP file is already downloaded into your system.
Oh, I love that.
Right. The entire history of the universe, the Akashic Records, the ancient wisdom of Atlantis, it is already residing inside the deep architecture of your own unconscious mind.
Right.
But it is encrypted.
It's locked.
It's locked behind a firewall, likely because our daily AM radio frequency is just too dense to process it.
Yeah.
So the crystal doesn't give you the data. The crystal is the key that unzips the file you already possess.
That interpretation perfectly captures the underlying logic of the metaphysical framework. You aren't an empty vessel waiting to be filled with outside data. You are a complete repository already. You just lack the administrative access to open your own files.
We locked ourselves out of our own hard drive.
Pretty much. The tool facilitates an internal realization rather than an external download. And the physical mechanism for this unlocking is directly tied to a specific part of the body, the crown chakra.
Right. And for context for our listeners, the crown chakra is the energy center located at the very top of the head. It's traditionally associated with higher consciousness, spiritual connection, and kind of transcending the physical body.
Exactly. And in this specific lore, the crown chakra is the primary port for the decryption key. It is the energetic center associated with memories of the past, present, and future.
So how do they interact?
By focusing energy there, or even physically placing the Lightbrary Quartz near the top of the head, the high vibration of the crystal interacts with that specific chakra. That interaction is what supposedly shatters the encryption. It opens the mind and allows the individual to recognize the crystal's powerful healing properties and access that trapped knowledge.
Okay, so we have a clear picture of the architecture here.
I think so, yeah.
We have a layered, stepped storage device acting as a tuner. We have the Akashic Records encoded in the language of light. And we have the decryption of trapped knowledge residing in the unconscious mind via the crown chakra.
It's a very robust system.
It really is. But let's ground this for a beginner.
Okay.
How does someone actually use this on a random Tuesday? Like, what's the highly practical instruction from the text?
The application is surprisingly straightforward, actually. It's meditation. The primary instruction is to hold the Lightbrary Quartz while meditating.
So, what does this all mean for my actual daily life?
What do you mean?
Well, if I sit down on my living room floor, close my eyes, and hold this stepped crystal, am I just looking backward at Atlantis? Because as fascinating as ancient history is, I have like a 2 p.m. meeting, a chaotic inbox, and I need to buy groceries.
Right, the real world is still happening.
Exactly. Does unlocking the Akashic Records have any practical utility for modern survival right now?
That is a very fair question. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the framework offers a highly pragmatic answer to that exact skepticism. The lore states that these crystals act as energy conduits.
Conduits. Oh.
Yes. And a conduit isn't a passive archive. It's an active, two-way communication channel. Through these conduits, the text believes that universal masters can relay specific information that is pertinent to humanity at this time in our evolution.
Wait, pertinent to humanity at this time? That completely shifts the timeline from the past to the present.
It is the most critical detail. The crystal is not a museum exhibit. The universal masters, and whether you interpret that as higher dimensional beings, an advanced collective consciousness, or simply your own highest, most objective self, they are actively using this frequency to deliver a software patch.
A software patch for today.
Right. They are transmitting insights, perspective, and healing that are specifically required for our current evolutionary bottlenecks. It is a live feed, not a historical documentary.
So it basically functions as a real-time troubleshooting guide for modern existence.
Exactly.
The stated goal of holding the crystal during meditation is to help you move upward in consciousness, right? To gain an understanding of the big picture of the universe, stepping away from those daily anxieties.
Which directly addresses the 2 p.m. meeting and the chaotic inbox.
Yes. Think of it like pulling out your phone and opening a digital map.
Okay, I'm with you.
When you are stressed about your daily obligations, you are zoomed all the way in on Street View. Every single pothole, every red light, every minor inconvenience looks massive and insurmountable because it literally takes up your entire screen. You are trapped in the minutia.
The AM radio frequency right there.
Yes. But holding this crystal, moving upward in consciousness through that high vibration conduit, it is the equivalent of pinching the screen and zooming out.
Oh, I love that.
You zoom out from your street view to the city view to the continent until you can see the entire spinning globe. You realize your current location, your immediate stress over that afternoon meeting is just one microscopic pixel in an infinitely massive interconnected network of past, present, and future events.
And suddenly, the immediate anxieties lose their existential weight. You haven't escaped your reality. You have simply expanded your perspective of it.
You tap into the big picture.
Exactly. Which allows you to navigate the street view problems with a profound sense of calm and ancient context. That is the true practical utility of the Lightbrary Quartz. It calibrates your reaction to the present moment.
It is such a remarkable journey when you lay out the mechanics like that. I mean, we started with a geological anomaly, a piece of quartz with a stepped, layered growth pattern.
Just a rock pulled from the dirt.
Right. But by examining the framework of the Lightbrary Quartz, we see how that physical structure is revered as a cosmic cloud server. We unpacked how its high-frequency vibration acts as a decryption key, unzipping the trapped knowledge of the Akashic Records hidden within our own unconscious minds.
It's quite the leap, but it makes internal sense.
It does. And we explored how a simple meditation practice transforms this ancient stone into a live conduit, delivering the exact perspective we need to zoom out and navigate the chaos of modern life.
And for you listening, even if you are entirely new to energy crystals, exploring the concept of the Lightbrary Quartz challenges the fundamental way you view knowledge and, really, your place in the timeline of the Earth.
It's a huge perspective shift.
It invites you to step away from the modern default of being a passive, transactional consumer of information. It asks you to view yourself as a guardian, a steward of ancient wisdom who actually possesses the internal architecture to tune into a much higher frequency. It's a radically different, deeply empowering operating system for moving through the world.
It really changes the entire paradigm of how we interact with the natural world and our own minds. And it leaves you with a final, slightly provocative thought to mull over today.
Let's hear it.
The text mentions that these crystals are conduits for universal masters to relay information that is specifically pertinent to our evolution right now. Which makes you wonder, if you suddenly felt drawn to learn about the Lightbrary Quartz today, if you started this deep dive and listened all the way to this exact moment, is it just random curiosity? Or is that the language of light quietly prompting you to download the exact perspective you need for your life in this very moment?